As this was DISQO's second annual Consumer Trends Report, we have the opportunity to compare results year over year. Looking at how people feel in general about the direction the world is heading next year, we see that people are feeling a little bit better. And when looking at their optimism for the next 5 years, we also see slightly increased optimism. Understanding what is driving that optimism, or in some cases preventing it, is a critical factor for marketers as they look to develop their 2025 campaigns. Economic and geopolitical factors remain at the top of consumers' list of worries. Social issues like climate change and women's rights fall lower on the spectrum of concerns. And when it comes to areas of optimism, we see that people are most optimistic about a new US president, but inflation and the economy are also near the top of this list. As marketers, we knew it was important to understand specifically when it came to finances, how consumers were feeling about this year and the coming year. While there are slight improvements in last year's answers to this year, it is interesting to note that the reality of how people feel about 2024 so far doesn't live up to their expectations for the year. This demonstrates that people tend to see the future through rose-colored glasses. Marketers may want to appeal to consumers' sense of optimism for the future when they are occupied with concerns about the present. As we saw earlier, inflation is still a primary concern for consumers. In fact, 95% of consumers said that they are impacted by inflationary pressures to some degree. How this impacts their spending plans across different categories varies. Consumers overall expect to spend more on staples like food and groceries or clothing, and they expect to spend less on more discretionary areas like dining out, live entertainment, and personal travel. And I'll note these plans don't really vary from what we saw last year. It is difficult to talk about 2025 without also talking about the impact of last week's election. While this survey was fielded before the election occurred, we still wanted to understand hypothetically how the election results might impact consumers' feelings about the economy, their finances, and their spending plans. It is worth noting that between the two hypothetical questions of a Trump presidency and a Harris presidency, there were very few differences at the aggregate. Specifically regarding a Trump presidency, 46% of consumers said that they will not change their spending plans due to the election results. Positive and negative sentiment about the election's impact on the economy and personal finances is somewhat split, with about 37% of consumers feeling negatively about the election's impact and another 38% feeling positively. This reflects news reports of a tightly contested election at survey time. So we've set the stage about consumers' feelings for the coming year. Now let's take a look at how brands can engage with consumers through their customer journey. In this section, we'll cover advertising perceptions, the streaming landscape, and brand loyalty. We asked consumers where they had seen an ad that caused them to buy a product. Social and TV were fairly close, although social went out by 2 percentage points. In our 2024 consumer trend study, we saw the numbers reversed, with TV receiving 43 and social receiving 41. This growth was driven primarily by middle generations, millennials and Gen Xers, with Gen Z staying flat at 62% for social. Websites come in third with fairly even distribution across demographic profiles. One of the trends to keep an eye on in 2025 is how consumers research and discover products. Today, about half of consumers prefer search engines, and friends and family and customer reviews are still an important piece of the puzzle. Retailer and social media sites trail quite a bit behind search engines, but if you look at Gen Z, who are 21 percentage points more likely to turn to social media for product research, it does provide a look into the future growth of the platform as a discovery tool. Additionally, with AI predicted to grow significantly in 2025, look for the use of those platforms to grow as well. So, what do consumers think about your ads? Brands and media platforms walk a tight line between entertaining or informing their audiences and irritating them. So, this line needs to be balanced with relevancy and frequency. There are some media that consumers say do it better. TV and social are at the top of the list for informing and entertaining, but they're also at the top for irritating. Each of these channels offer unique ways to engage with customers, and it's up to the media platforms and advertisers to partner to ensure that advertising strikes the right balance. The bottom line is that marketers should build and maintain a strong presence across channels and platforms. With consumers utilizing a variety for both product research and media consumption, brands must understand which channels work and how they interact, making it imperative to establish a comprehensive measurement framework upfront that prioritizes deterministic measurement across these channels and platforms. Now, you can't really talk about current trends in advertising without also talking about influencer marketing. What we see is mixed opinions about influencer advertising overall. About 26% of people feel positive, while 32% feel negative, and 43% are just apathetic. You see pretty big differences across generations, not surprisingly, and across race and ethnicity groups. These mixed results point to a need for marketers to take a more balanced approach with their influencer campaigns and ensure that they are part of a broader media mix. Now let's talk a little bit about streaming. Consumer streaming choices in 2025 seem to be settling in. Most have between 2 and 4 streaming services, and most spend under $100 for all of their streaming and TV services combined. They also mostly expect to stay the same, with an even split between those who plan to increase and decrease their streaming subscriptions. As people maintain a stable subscription count, marketers should diversify ad placements across multiple services to ensure they reach viewers wherever they may be. Now, looking at where people prefer to watch television or video programming, the connected TV glass leads the way. Mobile phones are still a significant device for consuming video as well. In 2025, marketers should evaluate their media mix and consider CTV's targetability, broad reach, and its high engagement rates. Shifting now to the power of brand. We wanted to take a look at how different interactions with and the qualities of a brand influences consumer sentiment. When evaluating touch points, consumers' previous interactions with a product or service is the most powerful influencer. This is followed by online reviews and what friends and family say. It is also really interesting that ads in social media fall quite far down the list of touch points that influence consumers' views of brands. However, this hierarchy isn't the same across all generations. In fact, the influence of previous experience with a brand grows quite significantly with age. Gen X favors previous product or service experience over Gen Z by 12 percentage points and Boomers by 23 percentage points. What this shows is the lasting impression brand experience can make in building lifelong customers. Now, when looking at brand attributes, you can see a theme emerging around authenticity. Consumers prioritize more tangible and directly relevant attributes like value, quality, and trustworthiness over other factors such as social responsibility and sustainable practices. Finally, here we look at what actually makes consumers loyal to a brand name. Again, tangible factors stand out with quality and good customer service at the top of the list. But when defining what matters to your brand, marketers should focus on multiple drivers. 81% of people selected more than one as being important to influencing their loyalty. It is important to note that customer loyalty does vary across verticals. Higher and more significant purchases like vehicles, healthcare, and electronics all see greater emphasis placed on brand names than everyday purchases like groceries and apparel. I would point out, however, that brand name loyalty can vary across generations, with younger generations being more loyal to brands under lifestyle products like clothing, electronics, and personal care. So, what should marketers take away from the study? We see 3 key themes emerging for 2025. First, the path to purchase will rapidly evolve. Marketers must stay agile to understand what drives consumer purchases and optimize campaigns across traditional media, social media, retail sites, and even AI platforms. Second, the brand performance connection will continue to grow. As measurement evolves to link brand and performance, marketers can showcase brand power while also optimizing results. And finally, marketers will diversify campaigns to ensure relevancy. Marketers will engage consumers through tools like personalization, targeting, and contextualization, while also measuring campaign impact against brand and performance goals. And as promised, here's the QR code to download our full report. You can also find it in the event resources on the webinar platform. The report contains even more insights broken out by demographics in some places. So I highly recommend downloading and keeping it in your toolkit for 2025.